So I filmed my response to Dana White. Noka is piping up. Kyle, you could test me for steroids whenever.
Mike Tyson has come again with his mouth overflowing with words of anger and rage. He's come for no one else than his favorite victim in recent times, Jake Paul. All of Mike Tyson's propositions regarding Jake Paul's intake of hard drugs have been proven true despite Jake Paul's many lies. And it's a furious Mike Tyson who started the whole drug narrative that is back for the problem child. Full of wrath and disgust, let's dive right in. It's another day where news regarding the upcoming bout between Mike Tyson and Jake Paul is doing the rounds, and it's become expected that either of the two fighters or both of them would always have some words for each other.
Steroid test me whenever the fuck you want. It is 2 weeks after my fight, and I am a fat bitch. I don't do steroids, and I take it as a compliment because there's no other excuse to me knocking out all of your champs.
The matchup schedule for July 20th has proven to be one that was born in controversy, groomed in controversy, and from the look of things will end in controversy.
They feel like it's a lot of pressure to stay clean.
Let's explain it. I hate that. I always hated that. Oh, wait, I never wanted to do drugs, but then I do them again. I never wanted. I hate it. No.
There would be very little surprise if the fight ends in a manner that has never been seen before in the world of boxing. The outcome of the match could be so unthinkable that only July 20th has the answers to the myriad questions in the hearts of many. Both fighters have thrown shades at each other for the biggest and smallest reasons, and it's become such a trend that other boxing professionals and supporters have joined the verbal battle. More recently, news of Jake Paul's intake of drugs have been doing the rounds on the internet, and the news all began with a comment from his next opponent, Mike Tyson. Mike was the first to suggest that Jake Paul took a drug test, claiming there was so much about his body transformation and other things that looked very unnatural. According to Tyson, Jake Paul had been on some drugs to keep himself in shape, and more importantly, to aid his preparations against Mike Tyson. In 4 months, Tyson revealed this shocking detail about Paul, and though Paul had initially denied, Tyson's emphasis on a test has forced him to take one. Jake Paul took the test, and sadly for him, he tested positive to the drugs Tyson accused him of taking. According to Tyson, Paul resorted to the use of a drug matching the description of Apron in order to stay in shape for the upcoming boxing match. Amon, also known as dithylpropion dilycathinone, is one of the drugs listed on the World Anti-Doping Agency's banned list, and it is a stimulant that performs several functions. Though there is a high possibility of the drug being abuse, substance or drug abuse is a crime known to be prevalent in boxing and sports as a whole, with the World Anti-Doping Agency having to grapple yearly with athletes who fall in breach of doping regulations. Based on Tyson's descriptions of the drug and the effects, Apramon was detected as the likely substance, and after a thorough test, Jake Paul has been found guilty of Mike Tyson's accusations. It came as a huge surprise to many how precise and accurate Tyson's prediction was, but it must not be forgotten that Tyson also had a long history with drugs, and no other person would be in the best position to identify drug addicts. Jake Paul tested positive to the said drug, and he risks a cancellation but against Tyson and a potential ban or fine. Jake Paul's test result was leaked by the body involved in his testing. However, Mike Tyson on a live session reacted to Jake Paul's test results. "I told you all something was deep in this guy. It takes one who's been there to identify others too." Tyson said, "You don't doubt me, you shouldn't. I spent over 3 decades in the ring, and around it I know what I was saying. The little idiot should be ashamed of himself. He's taking drugs to fight me." Tyson then made a funny joke at Jake Paul. "If he's taking these drugs to fight me now, what would he have done if he faced me at 27? He would bring guards into the ring." Then Tyson also questioned the veracity of his previous test results, claiming many of them may be lies. As well to Tyson, Jake Paul had been so cunning and untruthful, and he was set to beat him out of falsity. "I am ashamed of you. Who knows if you presented fake results for your previous fights? Well, it's me this time, and you can't cut corners. You're being so cunning in all you do, and I teach you lessons." Tyson then sent words to the authorities of the sport, seeking a penalty for Jake Paul. It's likely Mike had forgotten that a ban for Jake Paul would mean there won't be any bout on July 20th, except Mike Tyson finds another opponent. If he's unable to find another opponent, that means there would be less money in his pocket. Well, that's just a caveat to Mike Tyson to guard his excesses in the build-up, so he doesn't unintentionally hurt himself in the process of crucifying and persecuting Jake Paul. Mike Tyson may unknowingly cut himself off some benefits Mike Tyson reminded the authorities of their job descriptions and encouraged them to stick with it. "I'm calling on the boxing body to do what's best for Jake Paul. I want them to cause unexpected problems for the problem child. I want that name to belong to someone who experiences problems and not someone who causes them," Tyson said. He also added that he should be sanctioned and penalized thoroughly. His boxing career is yet to start, and he's already guilty of huge crimes like this. Well, they should ensure he fights no more and suffers for all he's caused. Finally, Tyson claimed he was still ready to take him on, so the drugs will get off your body soon. "I'd want you to go and recover, because once you do, I'm coming for you. And if you'd bring your drugs to the match, I'd beat you with your drugs and send you to hell." It could be worrisome why Tyson's words sound harsh and scathing to Jake Paul, but it must also be taken note of that Mike Tyson wasn't the first person, and not even the second or third, to have accused Jake Paul of taking drugs. UFC President Dana White once responded to Jake Paul's accusations that he was always taking cocaine, suggesting that the YouTuber turned boxer used steroids. Jake Paul and Dana White were at loggerheads for months, with the pair going back and forth in press conferences and on social media. Things turned personal on Halloween, however, when Paul dressed up as the UFC chief in a costume that featured him holding a bag white powder labeled as cocaine prior to his knockout win over Tyron Woodley earlier this month. Paul also told Graham Benzinger that Dana White has a coke issue that everyone knows about. As a guest on The Fight with Tony Atlas, Dana White addressed the accusations and turned the tables on Paul with a thinly veiled allegation of his own. "I got a challenge for Jake Paul," White said. "This guy keeps saying that I'm a cokehead. He can randomly cocaine test me for the next 10 years. If I can randomly steroid test him for the next 2, his feud with White has raged on, however, and after saying he'll retire from boxing if the UFC started to pay their fighters better. In addition to Paul being given a fight with George Masvidal, the 24-year-old has also accused White of being a cocaine addict, which saw the UFC president make the proposal where he said he'll be tested for cocaine for 10 years as long as Paul takes a drug test. Nonetheless, results of Paul and Woodley's tests were revealed, and both men tested negative for any banned substances. The statement from the Florida Athletic Commission told the publication that it does not release medical testing information due to medical privacy. The statement read, "Both fighters submitted to a urinalysis prior to the bout. The Florida Athletic Commission does not release medical information or testing results due to privacy laws. The penalties for banned substances are defined in a section of Florida statutes. Once they tested negative." Dana White further accused Jake Paul for taking steroids. "I don't do steroids. I take it as a compliment because there's no other excuse for me knocking out all of your champions other than this kid does steroids," he explained. "If you steroid test me, then I want to steroid test every one of your fighters." He took to X to once again call out White, who he said has vanished like Casper the Ghost since last weekend. He posted on X, "5 days have passed, and while I've agreed to be tested, Dana has vanished like Casper." Dana White, however, responded by saying, "My one-fight deal. I will fight for $50,000, the new minimum. You make millions off of me, and all of UFC fighters benefit from the new minimum revenue share and healthcare." However, White was not also the first person to infer that Paul has used performance-enhancing drugs ahead of the famous clash between Jake Paul and Tommy Fury. A new accusation was made to stir things up, according to John Fury. Tommy's father, the YouTuber, who now makes a pretty penny as a pro boxer, is said to have not signed up for the voluntary drug testing for the bout. A pot of $500,000 awaits Fury if he comes out victorious over Fury, but if he loses, he has to change his name legally to Tommy Fumbles Fury Sr. Talking with YouTube star Rob Moore, suspension for his failed test with his world-renowned catchphrase, "Let's go champ." Briggs had become somewhat of a fan's favorite in the latter years of his career. However, this positive test put the final nail in the coffin of the career of Shannon Briggs, ever since he never fought again and is now well past his prime. Another surprising victim of failed drug test is Tyson Fury. However, Fury's case over the years has been brushed under the carpet, as he is now the world heavyweight champion. Fury and his cousin Huey were both found with nandrolone in their systems when giving a drugs test to United Kingdom anti-doping. The positive test for Fury came in February 2015, which was around the time the Gypsy King fought Christian Hammer. His next fight turned out to be against Vladimir Klitschko, when Fury won the 3 world heavyweight titles. The positive nandrolone tests weren't publicly released until 2017, by which time Fury hadn't boxed in 2 years. The allegations came to light after a farmer, Martin Carefoot, had been offered £25,000 to provide an alibi for Fury's case. The WBC heavyweight champion blamed the positive findings of nandrolone and his system on eating wild boar meat. Fury was given a retrospective 2-year ban and was able to continue his career. In December 2017, of course, Fury didn't fight again until June 2018, but began training and losing an insane amount of weight in a bid to get back to the heavyweight pinnacle after a few years of piling weight on. Along with alcohol and substance abuse, Mike Tyson's opponent in his exhibition bout in 2020, Roy Jones Jr., has also been a victim of such cases. Roy Jones Jr., arguably one of the greatest boxers to ever step foot in a ring, is slightly different to the first two. Given that Jones wasn't suspended for the positive test, Jones fought Richard Hall in a light heavyweight bout, and after he provided a test which came back positive, the Boxing Hall of Famer was 6 times over the allowed limit of testosterone levels, which surely indicates to having taken some form of illegal substance to enhance his performance. Jones Jr. team came up with a quick plan and said the failed test was due to traces of andros only in a supplement that Jones was taking called Ripped Fuel. This was an over-the-counter drug, but was merely a cover-up for Jones' insanely high testosterone levels. Roy Jones Jr. escaped punishment from the Indiana State Athletic Commission, where the Hall fight took place, as they didn't have any drug laws. Jones also didn't have to submit a sample to the commission either, which is very odd. Although he was never actually banned from boxing and given a sentence, it remains clear that Jones was using performance-enhancing drugs at some stage during his career. Canelo Alvarez is one of the highest-profile names to have been found guilty of taking performance enhancement drugs. The Mexican failed the test back in 2018 after testing positive for trace levels of the banned substance clenbuterol. Canelo failed not once, but twice for the performance-enhancing drug. The undisputed muted super middleweight king was given a 6-month ban suspension for his failed drugs tests. Clint Bull was found in Canelo's system on 2 separate occasions after the first bout between him and long-term rival Gennady Golovkin. The rematch between Alvarez and Triple D went ahead in September 2018, almost exactly 1 year after their first fight. This meant Canelo's 6-month ban had been served during the period between the 2 fights. Canelo's 6-month ban was awarded by the Nevada State Athletic Commission at a hearing in Las Vegas. In 2018, Canelo blamed the traces of clenbuterol untainted meat, but it's clear to boxing fans, as well as the board, that this was purely a cover-up story. Again, a bit like Fury, the Mexican's positive P tests were brushed under the carpet, as he is such a huge draw and brings huge eyeballs to the sport of boxing. However, that doesn't make him invincible and untouchable, as he is officially a proven drug chief and will always have that asterisk beside his name. Now, of the long list of boxers to have failed a drug test, James Toney probably has the saddest story, as it involved a title loss just 11 days after defeating John Ruiz for the WBA World Heavyweight title. In 2005, James Toney was stripped of the belt and had his win overturned to a no contest. The New York State Athletic Commission overturned the result due to Toney testing positive for an illegal substance in a urine sample. Lights Out, as he was fondly called, was suspended for 90 days and fined $10,000 after nandrolone was found in his urine sample. The anabolic steroid found in Toney's system is one that can only be injected into your system. There is no denying that Toney got caught red-handed using performance-enhancing drugs. Nandrolone helps boost an athlete's performance and improve their physique, hence why it is on the banned substance list in sports such as boxing, cycling, and athletics. Toney, of course, denied the allegations, but there is simply no denying that the 4-division world champion was on performance-enhancing drugs. While it is safe to say Jake Paul is in such great company, it remains unpredictable the kind of punishment he will receive for this. Most importantly, his previous drug tests will likely be reviewed before his penalty is defined. One thing many can be sure of is that the fight on July 20th is on the receiving end of several threats, and as a result, it may never come to pass. Well, let's see. That's all we've got on this for now. If you enjoyed watching this video, kindly react by clicking the like button for updates on the very best moments, events, matches, and actions in the world of boxing.